Good morning, everyone. My name is Tina Parrish, and this is Functional Movement. And so the focus is on knees, and what we'll be doing with knees is not actually moving them too much, but more or less just isolating them. Let's start with an easy knee movement just to get started. Coming back and forth, and this can be done also in a chair if your knees feel especially stiff. This is actually the most knee movement that we will probably see throughout this workout, which is more of like an intermediate to even advanced workout. Spend the first half hour doing mobility and flexion, and we're just flexing the knee here, and we're getting the synovial fluids moving. You kind of see, is it pain or is it rust that's happening right now in the knees? Second half of the class is focused on the strength training. Because it's knees and because we're not going to do too much movement, it's not necessarily how you strengthen the knees. You'll see a lot of lower body yoga poses to just create activation and how we're stacking the knee over the ankle. All right, let's get into the anatomical position. Toes facing forward, shifting the weight back into the heels and into a shoulder float, aligning the head over the heart. If there's any pinching in the lower back, just drop your sit bones towards the back of your knees. And you feeling your bowl, your pelvic bowl shift back a little bit. Take some deep inhales and exhales out through your nose. Continue to let the breath fill your cavity and then let it shape where your muscles need to be as your diaphragm expands, right? As you express all the oxygen out of your lungs. And then as that diaphragm, that muscle in the center of your body compresses as the lungs fill up. That oxygen has a way of lifting you up and putting you into a better anatomical position, and also just through movement on that diaphragm. We'll go with the spine, starting at the neck, gentle turns side to side, and just noting any stiffness, any pulling in the shoulders, or pulling in the jaw muscles at all. Honor any breaths, any sighs that come in. And then head comes forward. So let's drop the chin, not quite marrying it into the heart. And as you lift, try not to kink the hose. So we kind of honor this range in the cervical neck that can go deeper and higher. But full range doesn't always mean better. So just focus on the range that makes a change. Continue to inhale and exhale out through the nose. Feel yourself being filled up with oxygen in yoga, which is known as your prana or your life force. Receiving clarification, a cleansing, and then exhaling or releasing what you might not need or that which is stale. Looking forward, we're going to tilt the head side to side. Work the scalings. So this is a great way to unclench the shoulders, unclench particular muscles in our body we might not be aware of, such as the jaw, and even unclench the mind as we get into that full body mobility. Bit of manual stretching here, hands into the jaw here and just dragging down this hard working masseter muscle. It's the strongest muscle in our body, not necessarily the biggest obviously, but the strongest. See if you find any pressure points. So you focus on the exhale and releasing any tension that might be held here. The body keeps the score, it doesn't forget. So if we're not mindful of our emotions and allowing them to flow through us, they have no choice but to get stuck somewhere in our body. Right? You can think of those tight shoulders and also that tight jaw. Come to the back of the neck and massage horizontally right below the occipital bone. This is a light massage. Get to the base of the skull. A lot of the cranial nerves are housed. And then massage the sternocleidomastoid, that's the big ropey neck muscles. I like to pinch them between my thumb and index finger. Helps with migraines, this massage. And then we'll work our way down. So let's come into cat-cow using the chair as we go into the thoracic spine. And we practice the flexion, neutralization, and even extension. So that looks like cat-cow. So we're going to round out for the flex into cat. You can feel your tailbone tuck in and your head drop down. And then into neutralization or an extension, and you can rock back just a little bit. We'll go farther in just a minute. Starting with the hands a bit. Then coming forward, and if you're okay with it, dropping into cow, which the belly drops. And the spine starts extension. Think of it extension in the front of the body, anterior, as we're opening up that spine. Back to neutralization, rock back, get a little bit of extension, stretching the hands. Come forward again and find the flexion, right? So the body sees a lot of flexion in the middle of the back. So those muscles are typically loose there. Find neutralization, rock back. So the hand feel, and then come forward and see if you can drop into cow and contract, which was flexing, and extend that spine interiorly. Right? Think of it opening up in the front. Back to tabletop or neutralized spine. Extend back, keep that micro bend. Think about stacking the knees over the ankle. That will be a big theme today. Taking good care of the knee by stacking the joints. Come forward and then into that flexion, into drawing the abs in. Okay, step back and wider as we find a progression on this one. Into that flexion, rounding of the spine, into neutralization, and then pull back. Get into that axial extension. See how the knees feel now. Keep that micro bend, where you feel a little bit of the pull in the inside of the adductors and also the hands, right? Because the tendons, they come wrap around to the back of the knee, so you could be feeling a little bit deeper there. Remember to keep a little micro bend that helps you get to the part of the hands, the belly of the hand, rather than so stressing the tendons by trying to really push those kneecaps out. Come forward and then see if you can find any cow here, any contraction as the belly drops, the head lifts a bit, and the extension happens anterior with the spine as it contracts posterior behind you. Neutralize, extend back, stretch. Come forward, round out, feel that flexion, right? We feel like that's an easier move to do because the body's used to that move. Neutralize, and then drop again. See if you can lift the neck, drop the belly, compress the lower back. And then axial extension, come all the way back. See if there's any inversion here. So inversion is where the head goes below the heart. If you have a heart condition, I wouldn't recommend it. But if there's an ability to loosen and let go of the head and the arms. Resist the urge to squeeze in the patella, that's the kneecap, and go into hyperextension, which just stresses the tendons too much. We're looking for the belly of the ham to get stretched. Excellent, and come all the way up. And let's go with some lateral moves, right? So it's come up, right? And we can just use a little trick here. If we're working on knees, I'm going to shift the weight back as I've been to chair. So the more I kind of stack those knees over the ankles, the better it's going to feel for the knees. Rotate the shoulders back. Squeeze the blades in. And let's mimic some backward bending or some more contracting, strengthening for the back. Start with the shoulders. Shift the weight into the heels, open up space in the feet, make sure the toes are facing forward. Some nice things we learned last month with the theme being for the feet. Stacking the weight over the heels. Keeping a bit of a micro bend. We'll progress this into locust, just some moving locust as the arms come back. Not quite squeezing the glutes or drawing the hip bones in. But think of your feet pressing outward a little bit, like you're trying to split the floor open. So push the feet away. That creates a little bit of tension, stability for the knee as you push that wider. Okay, let's bring the arms up and let's hold a cobra pose here. And see if you can squeeze everything in the hip bones. And then release the hip bones. And if you can look up. Inhale through the nose only, but you feel your jaw drop, and you might touch on that Ujjayi breathing, that noisy exhale through the nose. That's a stress reliever, keep it up. Remember, if we're not allowing experiences, thoughts, and emotions that don't really align with our true nature to get stuck, we have to find a way to release them. And Ujjayi breath offers that, as does this pose, Cobra. Bhujanganasana. And then release. So we'll go into Sphinx pose from here. Arms come up. So I feel the blades come apart, but we're not rounding out the center of the back, we're neutralized. The blades come apart, the wrists come up. Squeeze the lower body, squeeze the hip bones in. And then see if you're able to release the hip bones. And if there's any opening, any lifting for you as release. And then come down. One more stretch, one more pose here for yoga, strengthening the back here. We're going to go into seal. Mostly these are done, right? If you tilt your head, you'll be like, oh yeah, most of these are done on the floor. None of us want to come down and use that gravity so intensely, so we choose to do it standing up. So I'm going to begin by squeezing everything in, and the arms go away from the body here. And we always know there's a little bit more addition of core there. So keep your glutes squeezed in on this one, soften the knees. Shift the weight over the heels and do that inhale, exhale. And then release. Still caring for the spine, right? Coming forward, doing that nice stretching. Just did a strengthening series. So let's go on the sides and let's move laterally, and then we'll go on the transverse plane, twisting. shoulder floats comes back. We're gonna start with the serratus and lift one arm and just see how the shoulders and the body feel about that. And then opposite arm slides down as you intensify, as that elbow lifts up and as the hand slides down. And you can add more extension, but continue to root in. We root in to rise up, push out to the side. See if you can squeeze your hip bones in. So there's still a sense of stability much needed as we do that stretch. Now reach up high. This feels a lot better when you come up and switch sides when you're reaching up high. Arms come back down, neutralization. Start easy. Experiment from there. The more we rise up, the more we root in, squeezing the hip bones, feeling the weight over the heels. Great Ujjayi breath opportunity. And then come all the way up. So we'll do a rotation for the torso with the feet anchored in. I'm going to go ahead and use the block. I'm just going to use a tool for that. Taking a block, squeezing in. If you don't have a block, it's not a big deal. You don't have to use one. You can also use a pillow. It just creates a little bit more of anchoring in, and it's actually great, gentle, easy knee strengthening exercise. You're also strengthening muscles in the pelvic area. So it does good across the board. Squeeze that in, hip bones face forward. Now we're going to rotate. It's going to be all in the torso area. So I'm just going to keep the arms in on this one. And as I squeeze, I'm going to feel rotation. If 12 o'clock is forward, you know, you may be hitting 2:30 as you squeeze. And then come back to center. So we're just honoring the flexibility and the complexity of all the muscles in that lower back that keep us up, right? In the L5, S1 area. Squeeze the block, rotate to the opposite side, going from 12 realistically to about 10:30. Come back to center. I'm going to float the shoulders out, and I'm going to use my body this time to help enhance that stretch. So squeezing, rotating, and then moving my arms. So my shoulder's okay with that. Moving my arm back and just using my body and my arms as leverage to deepen as I squeeze. Feel the neck mobility again. And then release and come to center. So you want to be careful, right? As we reach and grab and feel that rotation, that can really intensify things very quickly. Squeeze, rotate. How do you want to use your arms or your body to enhance that rotation? And don't forget about the neck. Great. Okay. We'll work on the knee just a little bit more, and then we're going to combine planes and do some deeper stretches using the body as leverage. So get a little bit more intense in a moment. Wide leg to the chair. As you experiment a little bit more with the knees and how the knees are going to feel about bending or doing body weight today. So you get a nice stretch on one leg. As you come down, stack the knee over the heel. Make sure the knee is in alignment with where the middle toes are going, and that your lower back is feeling okay here. And then push off to the other side. So this is a dynamic stretch. We'll do several of these. Working on stacking the knee and getting the knee to point in the right direction. And that your feet are allowed to have their own personality. They can go where they want, feel like they want to be pointed. They need to work with the knee. They need to work with the alignment of the ankle and the knee's ability to come over to where the middle of the toes are pointing. Can you use the chair to take off body weight? Spreading your fingers, lifting your palms at times to not put all that weight onto your palms, but realize you can put some of it onto your fingers. Okay, so we're going to get to one side, and we're going to hold that. So on the side that you're on bending, right? See if you can drop that same arm down. It doesn't have to touch the floor. And if there's any ability to take the opposite elbow and rise it up. So here you are on several different planes, strengthening the knee. And then see if you can put that elbow on the inside of that knee and push a little bit and rotate a little bit deeper, right? Using the body as leverage. Don't have to lift up. We all find this in different ways. Sometimes our shoulders are doing what they want to do, so it's better to keep that elbow down. And then the more complex the stretch is, the more you want to take your time reversing all those cues before we go to the other side. So work on the alignment. Alignment feels good. Dropping the hand nearby, taking the opposite shoulder, rotating it up. And using that elbow for leverage to see if you can get a deeper twist there. Reverse it. Think about as many cues as you can come out of before you come to center. So we're going to go the opposite side, but we'll rotate into the opposite way. So bending into that knee. So with the opposite arm, drop it in. Opposite elbow comes up. And if there's any ability to grab that leg and rotate. And just deepen it gently and then come out of it. Rotate opposite knee. Opposite arm drops in, causes that rotation. And then I'm going to use that arm to create a deeper rotation. Come out of it slowly. What we did to warm up to get to that place. Rise up, rotate the shoulders back, and just go into our nice classic loops with the elbow. To see what your flexibility is going to be like. There is some overhead in the second half of class. That can be modified as well. If you're having rotator cuff issues or anything like that. Okay, have your block nearby, have your band nearby, and have your weights nearby. So how we're combining this in the strength training portion of the class is I'm choosing a lower body move that's a resemblance of yoga, because yoga is very useful. And lots of yoga correlates with a lot of strength training positions or moves, okay? And we're holding those with the activated isometric knees, holding in place and doing upper body arm movements and finding a way to progress that and make it more difficult. So our first two moves, right, whether it's yoga or strength training, weight room moves, is a Romanian deadlift, right? If we're working out with a personal trainer, we call it Romanian deadlift. If we're in a yoga class, we're going to call it forward fold. And then upward salute. So go through the motions of it. Decide what your range is. And if your range is only a little bit, if your range is only right here, that's still a move. It's called a good morning. So whether it's there and you come up, you know, you're just modifying. I guarantee most modifications that you're making are some kind of move in itself. So just honor that. One more rep in this set. And now we want to start adding resistance. So grab the band, be our first form of resistance, and give it a pull, right? Just so we feel some activation there in the shoulders and even the core, or especially when it comes out, hold it out for just a second, right? This is mimicking of a plank. It's some nice basic core work, right? Draw your belly in a little bit, don't suck it in, but just as if you're bracing it a bit. And let's go through the motion. So it's great to stay in a plank. It's nice to be able to go overhead if that's still a movement for you. Keep it going. Otherwise, I want to get this picture out of the way. Okay. Keep pulling the band. Keep finding where you're best in this move. Stacking the knee over the heel, allowing for some knee bending so we don't flex at the spine. The only time in my class and in this recording I will ever say flex your spine is likely when we're doing cat. So keep hinging at the waist, even if it's only this far. Do not go into dropping the neck and the shoulders forward as a means to go lower. Use the knees, bend down. One more, and then we're going to increase the resistance load. So let's go into weights. 2 more sets here. This is usually our longer set. Is that first one in this series. So we've got our weights. The weights are going to come out in front. It's a time that we need to be most aware of the core, drawing the hip bones in and just find that moment to bring the weights up. And we're really using that core. And we just use the arms as levers. But the real work and effort is coming from this center of your body. This is a core move. Yeah, find that inhale on the way down. Maybe that Anjay breath on the way up. Beautiful. I'm going to add one more piece of equipment here. I'm going to go back to the block. I'm going to squeeze that in. Excuse me, I have to let the dog in. Hi. You're late to the workout. Squeeze that in. Okay, total body move this one and taking nice protection of the knees, like realizing I'm strengthening that knees doesn't mean over use of those knees. It just means being smart about how to strengthen them. Right, and part of being smart about how to strengthen them is working on a lot of muscles around the knees, up and lower, to support the knees, right? I like to say the knee is a prisoner between the hips and the ankles. Decide if it's a good morning, that's still a good movement there. Lifting your toes at times, that's a little trick that we learned last month to make sure that you are centering your weight in the right points of your feet, right? Which are the ball mount, the joint in the big toe, the outside of the feet and into the heels. Last one. Excellent, grab some water if you need to. And let's take a 20 right here. 20 can be nice, 20 seconds can be nice if you'd like to do a stretch, or perhaps if you'd like to work on balance, or maybe you want to get a little bit of more cardio in. So I'm going to let you decide what you want to do for those 20 seconds. I'll keep inserting them in. And so you can make different choices about what you feel you need in that moment. It's great for cardio, gets the heart rate up, but it might aggravate the knees. You might need a little something different in this moment. Connect with the breath, whatever you have chosen. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And so we go into the next circuit, right? New moves, upper body moves as well. So we're going to go into chair. That's where we're hinging forward and we're bending the knees more and attempting to stack the knees over the ankle and making sure that there isn't a C curve there, which looks like this. And you feel a lot of compression in the lower back. So any kind of dipping of the pelvis as you lower, and then finding movements with the arms. And then go into it. So now's a good time to find out like what's going to work for you. Holding the chair pose, doing little reps with the chair pose, working within your comfort and your edge. To increase strength, right? So there's a lot more quad here. There's some glutes on the squeeze. And a lot more awareness about shifting and taking care of those knees. Okay, we're gonna grab the band. About 4 sets with this one too. So first set down. Second set, create the tension right here. Shift the weight and pull. So lots of different body parts to go into, where you really think about that pelvis and that bowl as you hinge and create space for the lower back. So hinging and working the pelvic bowl at the same time. Think of the bowl as tilting in a little bit more and maybe dropping a drop or two out the back, rather than the water spilling into the front, right? That creates that C curve. Keeping my toes up, I'm kind of going through my little toe exercises, pressing the big toe, lifting up the other toes, just to work on some of those muscles that we don't use or forgotten about, right? Press your big toe in and command your other toes to come up. See what happens. See if they listen to you. Press your other toes in and lifting your big toe up. See if they listen to you. Or if some of those muscles are atrophy, haven't been used in a while. I know not all of mine listen to me. So we go through the motions, getting those muscles, gaining those muscles back. Okay, great. I'm going to tie the band now into the next set. Enough so that you feel that you have effort. You have to take effort to push your legs apart. So wrapping around a couple of times and a gentle tie can work. So now we have that sensation of pulling apart, right? Like we had before, splitting the floor. We don't want the knees together. Push out, outer muscles now, and go into so a lot more activation and some of these outside muscles here. A lot more strengthening, keep shifting the knee, the weight over the heel, joint stacking, watching the pelvis. One more set after this. Then you're going to grab the weights. Weights are going to come up. That can be nice because you can swing back a bit and get that knee over the ankle. A lot more activation from the core. Rule of thumb, where something's hard and you can't do 1 or 2, something needs to kind of change or you need to pull away from the exercise, like lighter weights, or you can't work through certain pain. So just pass on the reps. If you can manage 3 or 4, then you've got the position right. You probably have the right weight for you. If you do more, that's great. Just feel that activation. Isometric action, things are being held in place and working hard. And then come out of it, undo the band, and find another 20, right? You might need a nice stretch after that. Maybe something a little bit wide, like a wide leg forward fold for your hips. Or maybe you want to go into a little bit of balance for 20. Just choose what's right for you. Maybe there was a cue or a body part you noticed that you wanted to feel a little bit more. Wobbling is good. Wobbling is an indication that you're working on it and you want to be working on your balance. So invite the wobbly. Oh, I have a story. I slipped today. I went down hard. So I have concrete stones on the back patio, big ones that look kind of almost like this, if they're square, black ice. And I hit it. Yeah, and I went all the way down and I managed to squeeze my glute. So I kind of landed on that muscle. And then I had all this stuff back here to keep my head from being in concrete. Pretty scary. I just laid there for a moment, swore a little bit, and just inventoried. And until I felt ready, I didn't get up. But luckily I landed on that somewhat, strong cushion there and not on my tailbone. Okay, 20 seconds done there. All right, let's go into the next set. So I'm thinking in goddess, that's a really tough one because we're bending the knees and we're holding it. So you can always pull back and go to a wide leg forward fold at any point your knees aren't working for you. So we're going to go wide here. And like we're doing with the single legs side lunge, I want you to just make sure that you got it in the right places. The knee is coming over the toes. So then when you come down, and it's more of a lowering of the spine rather than a hinging. Do your best to stack your knees over your heels and then come all the way up. Some of the smaller glute muscles too as well. So there's the movement, okay? So feeling good about the lower body, keeping the mind's eye on the spine here, because you're going to start to squeeze the center of the back. We do traditional goddess. We don't want to have any pain in that lumbosacral area right there. Wide leg or star pose is always useful too, and attempt to squeeze your glutes. So you do not have to bring the knees in here if it's too much. All right, so we start adding equipment. We go through sets. There's probably going to be 3. We already got through the first one. Okay, so here's the second one. So we're going to take the band. We have the sensation of pulling with strong wrists. So watch if your wrist is this way or your elbows this way. Nice and strong stacked joints, right? All nicely stacked. So just work with the band a little bit to be able to get that and squeeze back, and then work your goddess squat. Really, Koki? Good time to find that complete yogic breath where you're feeling the air enter your cavity. You're not shallow breathing. Even pulling back to just natural breath and just being aware you are breathing. And then expanding to that yogic complete breath. Maybe exhaling with the Ujjayi exhale. So this is intense. It's a fierce pose. The fierce hard position. Okay, let's do a pause here. And see if you can come all the way up and over. Just a little bonus move there. So same rules apply. If you find the wrists are bending or the elbows, give yourself a little slack. Strong wrists, strong elbows. You can add on this if you want. You don't have to, right? If you're like feeling pretty good. And add that goddess squat in there. Okay, just a little bit of bonus on that one. And go ahead and grab the weights or keep the band if you'd like to just do one more set with the band if you're enjoying that. I'm gonna take the weights, I'm gonna bring them up. I'm gonna feel a squeeze between my blades with that. If the blade squeeze doesn't work for you, you can always come up in front here and hold the weights. You've added how much poundage for your lower body. And simply just holding it without bending it is just a great way to go too as well, right? Focusing on the isometric hold. There's an opportunity here to go overhead, should you choose. If you can only do one or two, the weight's probably not right, or something's not right about it. On a very tough move, you're telling yourself, I can do 3 or 4. Great, you got out of that circuit. 3 circuits down with many sets within the circuits. Find your 20-second move. Right now, it can be various things. I enjoy planking on the chair and doing a little movement with the legs. Combining the best of both worlds here. Cardio with core and strength training for the upper body in a mountain climber plank. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come out of it. Excellent. We usually do a warrior stance. Let's get into it right now. Just going to hang on to that. I'm not going to do the arm movements with that today. I'm going to go into balance instead. So we're just going to go through an isometric hold with that warrior leg. Doing knee stacking over the heel, opening up the toes and squeezing the hip bones in. Let's just do a couple of functional stuff here. Okay, rotating the torso forward. Push out. Reach up. Now rotate so the center of the chest is aligned with the knee. Keep that hip bone squeezed in. Rise the arms up. And back down. Just to see that this is a good choice for some of us. It's asymmetrical with the hips. You're still taking good care of the SI joint. That this is a possibility in any of these functional moves that you might do. Opposite side. Got to see what your body likes. Knees stacked over to heel. Squeezing the hip bone in. Rotating the body forward. So let's go through some functional moves here. Out in front. That requires a big squeeze there. And now I'm going to rotate. And then feel that lift. Maybe one arm comes up, maybe the other arm comes up. Our body often gets in asymmetrical positions and twists and turns. And we want to root in, no matter what's happening, in order to rise up or rise something up. Okay, mini set there. So into our last circuit now. So focusing on balance on these ones. Root into the right side of your body and start to use tree pose. You're still using that Other opposite toe, that's fine. You're like 99.8% there. See if you can get it a little closer. Do the shoulder float. Try not to push the hip out. One thing we don't want to do. Or press the patella too far in. Give it a little bit of a micro bend. Grab the box, usually it's prayer pose, and then take the box and put it all the way up, or spread your hands like you would on tree. Okay, assuring yourself that you're able to do some single leg functional movement. Come over to the left side. Same thing, shoulder float comes up. Use that tree pose. 99.8% of the weight is on that side. Hands come together to hold the box. It's close to prayer. Arms reach up. Tree branches spread out. Box goes up overhead. Come back down. Throw in a couple other yoga poses. So anchor back into the right. All those great cues. Finding alignment. Coming up. And seeing that knee can rise up. Shoulder float. Come back. Flamingo in yoga. Taking your time coming down. You need to find that tree as these progress. Taking your time, shifting over, not just dumping over to one side, but being aware of how much posture cues are needed. Going from that tree pose to bringing the leg farther away from the body, using more core, arms coming behind. And then slowly coming back into that kickstand, that tree. Okay, one more here. This is where the body weight tilts forward. That's 30%. We want to be careful. Shift over right side or opposite side, whatever's working for you. Back leg comes out, and that naturally starts to tip your body forward. As we go into airplane, squeeze. This is the flip. This is the I'm going down move. Squeeze. And then come back up. Really, the airplane is like the going down backwards move, right? This is the going down forward move. Tilt over. Opposite leg comes back. And it's hard in those nanoseconds, as I found today, to be thinking I'm going down. You go down before you even think you're going down. So you're hoping on, muscle memory and just general strength coming in to kind of help you out when you bounce off the concrete, right? And then come all the way up. Working on that glute really saved me as I came down on that glute rather than on that spine. Okay, into the chair. We all fall. And into the hips of it here. Find that chair. Keep the knee aligned over the heel and the toes facing forward. Just the little things that can kind of matter when you're sitting. And taking care of the knee and taking care of the body. Going wider would be even better. But we're going to bring one knee up, just making sure the lower back's feeling okay. And then if you can swing that shin on top, get into that figure four, and still feel rooted and anchored in. If you need to feel your sit bones a little bit more, you can lift up the flesh. And feel yourself rise up. Sit bone sitting in. And if there's any happy baby here, grabbing the ankle, coming out a little bit wider. With the back nice and straight. Progressing that, don't have to. I mean, that's a hard angle for the knee, but I'm gonna grab the toes without rounding out the center of the back. And see if I have any ability to open it up. I'm gonna grab underneath the chair a little bit. Okay, not necessary, but just a little bonus there. Okay, back to that nice even chair pose. Bring the opposite leg over, making sure you're feeling comfortable and that you're feeling rising up, lifted. Ujjayi breath, good place for it. We store a lot of stress in the hip area. And then I'm gonna go same hand, ankle. See, I have some like strength here as I kind of combine happy baby with boat a bit. Don't use the back of the chair. And then I'm gonna find and progress that. You can stay with happy baby. I'm gonna open that up a little bit. Difficult, but just playing with it. Okay, back to chair pose. Let's go wide. And we'll just do 3 inhales and exhales, 10-second time. And we'll do a mobile stretch here. We'll do wide leg forward fold on the inhale. Exhale. Open the feet up. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Final exhale. Great. Wonderful job. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. I'll just end up editing. Yeah, okay. Stop recording. Got it.